Hey guys, I'm gonna come on today and show you guys how I make cold processed soap. There's a few loaves that I've posted lately, and there's a few people who have either commented or contacted me and asked, things like what type of colorants do I use, what recipe do I use, how do I make the topping, like the icing pipe topping and all that kind of stuff. So I figured that I would just come on because I have to make soap all week this week for an upcoming show in a month. And so yeah, we're gonna do I'm gonna do the lavender or lemon lavender. I made two smaller loaves. They're like the tall skinny types, just little, they're about that big, and they sold out super quick. I have none left, so I figured that I'd make just a larger soap because the other ones were kind of tiny, so I was pricing them at two different prices. So this is the mold that I'm going to use. These are the molds that you can get at Michael's or Hobby Lobby kind of thing. I really like them because you can unscrew the ends and everything comes apart. The only thing that I don't like is that on the sides it kind of comes out into a curve now. So what I'm actually going to do this summer is I'm going to get my dad to build me some molds that are the same size and actually a little bit longer so that I can get a few more bars out of the entire mold. I'm going to tell you guys how many I get out of that because I just cut one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I get 9 bars. So if I could get 15 bars, I think that would be cool. So like I said, this is the mold that I use. I have 2 of them, but I like to just make one batch at a time because I find, if anything happens, you waste all of that soap, right? So if it's a little bit smaller of a batch, then I don't feel as bad if something goes wrong, because it has gone wrong. Fragrance oils can be really, really touchy if you've never used them before. So yeah, I just like to make that size a batch. So I have my oils and my butters in here. Will I give you guys a recipe? I don't know. Let me know down below, I guess. If there's enough people that ask for it. It's not my recipe, it's someone else's recipe that is public, so anybody could find it. So if anybody's interested, I can link below after, or I can just kind of say it through here where my recipe is from. There's no hard butters in here, so it's all soft butters and oils. This one here is a palm oil soap. Of course, it's sustainable. It took me a really long time to decide if I wanted to do a palm oil soap. I read a lot of articles. I did my research. I know some of you, even though it's sustainable, you guys still don't want to use it, and that's okay. The lady that I got this recipe from has another recipe without palm oil. I don't use that one because it has sweet almond oil, and for allergy purposes I try to stay away from that oil. Of course you could substitute. You'd have to go through your soap calc to change up your oils and all that. But yeah, so if anybody's interested, I can definitely share that afterwards. Just comment below to let me know. So I've warmed up my oils. I like to soap basically at room temperature. I made these this morning. I warmed it up a little bit till there was just to say like some soft chunks from the coconut oil, and then I just let it sit and it kind of comes down. It's just to say a little bit more, a little warmer than room temperature. Now one main thing that you want to do is either soap at, well for me anyways, I like to either soap at room temperature, or my oils and my lye have to only be 10 degrees difference. So either my lye is 10 degrees lower than my oils or vice versa. And I don't like to soap at too high of temperatures because that's when I've had some stuff just not go very well. So yeah, so those are my little tips for that. The colorants that I'm using are a little bit, oops, ooh, that would have been bad. See, that's why I would make a smaller batch. I am using a few different brands. I did order from Mad Oils once just to see how how their colorants were, and they work really, really good. But again, shipping from the States to Canada sucks. So I bought these little containers here. I bought, I think probably 5 colors or something like that, and it was like $100 or close to, anyways. So I, you know, as much as I really like them, shipping isn't reasonable, so I just can't justify buying colors, you know, over and over again from them. Maybe once I'm, you know, a big shot, big store kind of company, then maybe I'll start splurging a little bit more. But so yeah, I have the yellow in the Mad Oil, and then my other colorants are the Candoras. So I'm still debating there. I want to make a mica line, so I'm either going to make it with the 24 karat gold or with this kind of minty green color. These are colorants, micas that I had got off of Etsy. I ended up getting like a sheet that has all the names and all that, but they were all like individually packaged, so I don't have the name just off by hand. I'd have to go look into my paperwork. But these are the colors that I'm going to be using. They're micas, and if I need to lighten anything, then I add the titanium dioxide. I use a water-soluble titanium dioxide just because I find that it mixes so much better. So I pre-mix, because I always like to lighten my base after. I pre-mix just some titanium and some water in a little container like that. I have my fragrance oil, which, like I said, is the lemon lavender. This has been a super popular fragrance for me. Anytime that people come to the table and, you know, they can start smelling the soap, right away they say, something smells super good. I give them that one, and that tends to be what they smell. So it's a very popular soap, or a scent. And then I'm going to top it off with some glitter and some other things, depending on how I go. So when I separate the batch, so after you mix your lye, and I have to talk about a lot of this stuff beforehand, because then after that it's kind of like a go thing. Once I've mixed my lye into my water and I've brought it to a very light trace, that's when I separate my colors. And I like to use these little red Solo cups. I've already pre-mixed my colorants, so I just put a couple tablespoons of the oil from here in there, and it mixes it up so that it doesn't create some clumps. So I've got my 4 colors here. So I've got a lighter lilac kind of purple, I've got a dark purple, I've got that yellow, and then I've got like a nice little green kind of color. And we're going to create a drop swirl. So there's obviously a lot of different ways to do a lot of different techniques, but we're going to keep it simple, just because I could go and do a hanger swirl or, you know, all those kinds of things, but I like that dropped look. So it just means that you're going to be pouring, and it's going to drop into the soap and create these like bubbles type thing all in the soap. And I find those are super cool. So that's what I want to make another one like that. And then we're going to kind of pipe something similar. I'm going to change my tip, but I'm going to show you guys how I do that too. There's a lot of videos on YouTube that show you how. There's some specific ladies that live for that type of technique. One in specific is Katie Kirsten from Royalty Soaps. She does that same similar pipe top. Of course, hers are perfect and mine aren't as much, but it's that look. So that's what we're going to kind of create, but with different colors. So you always want to have gloves. If you're super nervous, if it's your first time making soap, you're going to want to wear longer sleeves. It's kind of nice out right now, so I'm getting warm, but technically my sleeves would be down. You want to wear even just socks and long pants in case it splashes onto you. I've been making soaps for a few years now, and it doesn't scare me. So I wear my gloves. Normally I have my reading or my normal, like my glasses on to protect my eyes. I don't, but I'm just not worried. So take the precautions that you feel are needed for your level of skills, but I would always obviously recommend to at least wear gloves. So I'm going to get ready. You're going to hear the blender a little bit, unfortunately. Hopefully it's not going to bother you guys too much. So that's what we're going to start with. You are going to need a hand mixer, or an electric mixer, sorry, because to mix it by hand, it just takes too long. So I'm pouring it down the shaft so that it doesn't create too many bubbles. You don't want air pockets in your batter. So that's just what I'm doing there. Now the measurements, obviously I can't tell you because it depends on the size of your mold. So that's where you need to go to soap calculator on the internet and put in all of your oils and figure out the amount that you want. So I'm making 40 ounces of soap here. So I'm just burping it a little bit because I could see a few bubbles, and you're just going to start mixing. Now, light trace can vary for everybody. It depends on what you think is light trace. When I kind of make swirls on the top of my soap and I can kind of see the swirls a little bit, that to me is pretty good. Now I'm just going to give it... You basically want your oils and your lye to be lightly mixed. So you don't want to see any like oil gathering on the edges or anything like that. And then you'll know that it's pretty good. Okay, you don't want to mix too much because it can accelerate on you really, really, really quickly. So another tip that I would say is add your fragrance at the end. Now this can cause you to forget to add your fragrance, but that would be my tip when making anything like this, is to try and add it close enough to the end as possible so that you don't potentially get acceleration with your batter. So these are my four colors. Well, there's, you know what I mean. So I'm just going to pour a little bit. You want a lot of the white color and not too much of these ones. So you maybe want, let's see how much, about half of the cup. It's not half a cup, just half of the solo cup, roughly anyways. The purple, I'm going to do a little bit less because I have two purples, so you kind of want it to come out to the same half cup type thing. And then this one, I just want a very little bit of green. So you're just going to decide, you kind of have to, you know, visualize what your soap's going to look like a little bit ahead of time. So I already know that it's going to have that swirly look, but I want, you know, more purple and yellow and just a little bit of that green come through type thing. So I didn't put as much green, right? And then you want to mix from the lightest color to the darkest color, just so that you don't get mucky colors. I will stick blend this after. I just like to kind of get in there a little bit and hand mix just to say. Okay, I don't know which one is the lighter one. Oh, there we go. This one is the lighter one. So in here, like I said, I had put the purple mica in there, and then I just added a little bit of titanium dioxide because I wanted it to be more of like a lavender type color, and then this one be the darker one. So you do want to mix with the blender afterwards. Hand mixing, for me anyways, is never quite enough, and you're going to see that. So I'm just kind of trying to loosen up the soap at the bottom so that it doesn't stay in the bottom, and we're going to mix this too. Okay, so I'm going to mix, again, you're going from lightest to darkest. I don't know if you guys can see. Okay, yeah. So I'm just going to put some titanium dioxide in there. You don't want to use too much because that's one way you'll get glycerin rivers. Glycerin rivers are kind of, they're glycerin, so they kind of look a little bit see-through-ish, and they create like just little rivers kind of thing, like they go through your soap. I don't even know. I think I got a little bit in these ones here, but you guys wouldn't be able to see. Anyways, it's not a big deal. I don't personally care that much, but of course if you can avoid it, then you know it is better. So I'm just going to move this over because I want to go from lightest to darkest. All right. Oops. And I have not yet put my fragrance oil because I'm not ready. I need to mix all of this up first. So I am going to add a little bit more because I want it to be light enough. Okay, so that's good for that one. I'm going to go with the yellow first. Now, when you're doing, when you're mixing in the solo cup, you do want to hold on to it pretty good because the pressure from the mixer will pull it. I've made big messes before. Just FYI. So that's the yellow. Now, in between, you could scrape, but I mean, you're on a little bit of a time frame here, so you don't want to waste too much time, you know, cleaning and off stuff. Which is why I go from lighter to darker. This one's the lavender color. And I will answer some questions in a second. So once I'm done pouring, which never takes long, it's the quickest part of the whole thing. The funnest part for me, I find, and the quickest part. So it's kind of crappy. There we go. So now we've reached a better, a thicker trace, I guess. So it's still not bad, but now is when, you know, if you're going to be doing anything crazy, that's when you want to be careful not to overmix. So that's that. I'm going to push this away because we're pretty much done with that. Now is when I'm going to put the fragrance. Okay, so the amount of fragrance that you use is a little bit up to you when you're in soap calc. The size of mold that I have, I always use the exact same amount, so I know when buying how much I need to buy. But if you like something a little less strong, a little more strong, you know, as long as you're sticking to the percentage rate of the actual fragrance, then, so I'm just putting a little bit in each. And now I'm just going to hand mix this in. You can blend with the blender, but again, if your soap's going to be, or if your fragrance is a fragrance that accelerates or that, you know, does funky stuff, then you may not want to. Ricing can occur, so that's when the batter starts to split up. It's a horrible thing. It's only happened to me a handful of times, and it's very, very scary. So there's a few different ways you can try and get out of that. You know, you can stick blend and try to get that mixed back together. But I guess we won't really talk about it because it's not happening. So, like I said, I'm just going to hand mix all of this. I don't know if I could see any comments. What party? It's my birthday. Karen, it's your birthday? Woohoo! Happy birthday. How old are you, Karen? How much fragrance do you add? So, again, like this is a 40-ounce thing of soap, and I use 1 ounce of fragrance. Sometimes I will use a little bit more, depending on the type of fragrance. This is a very scented. You know how some you just don't smell a lot? They're not very strong, so that's when I kind of switch it up. But in my recipe, I'm using 1 ounce for 40 ounces of soap. Who else? You're 46. Woo! Happy birthday. I always wanted to have a spring, even summer birthday. I'm smack dab in February. It's always cold. It's always yucky. I hate my birthday. My daughter, same thing. She was born at the end of January. My husband was born in the beginning of December. So when we were planning on having our son, or a baby, we decided that we were going to try and give him a summer, or in his case, late summer birthday. So you have a good time of the year though, Karen. What did you mix your colors with in the cup? I just grabbed the oils in here, and that's what I mixed with. I just grabbed a couple tablespoons before I mixed it. Jesus, Murphy. Before I mixed the lye in here, I just took some spoons, a couple spoonfuls, and mixed it into the micas. All right, so I'm wanting to fill, not all the way up because then you're putting that in. I'm gonna say about a quarter-ish. I kind of eyeball this. You want to leave enough in here to pipe though, okay? So I'm going to do about that. I really should measure so that I know exactly how much I need, but I never do. So we are going to, and this is just free form. You do whatever you want, okay? So from higher up, that's how you're going to get the really nice swirls. I'm just going to drop all of this in here. So I just go back and forth throughout the whole soap. You can do, you know, a little bit at a time, then put a different color, a little bit more, different color. But I like to just do the whole thing. So this is very free-handed. You do whatever you want to do, whatever color combo that you want to make. It's completely up to you. Now the reason why I'm not scraping everything is because I just put in as much as I can, and then I scrape it all and I put it on top. That's the only reason why I'm not doing that. I just like to get the soap in the mold, and then you're safe, right? So then I just use my scraper. And I hope you guys can still see. Yeah, you can. Okay. So now I'm just simply taking the rest of the soap that's in here and just scraping it out. You want to get out as much of the soap as possible. This costs you money, right? So you don't want to leave anything in there to speak of. These cups are a little bit harder because they've got like a ridge on the edge, so it's a little bit crappy to use, but I just find it's disposable, right? So might not be the greatest for the environment, but it's just an easy cleanup to me anyways. You could reuse these if you really wanted to. I don't make soap all year round, so it's not like I'm using hundreds and hundreds in a year or anything, but so like I said, I'm just emptying out my little containers, getting as much out as I possibly can. Now, a lot of yous I know will stop here. You guys will finish your tops, you know, with a swirl or whatever it may be, and that's it. You're done. That's fine. I've done many soaps like that. When I first started, I was really scared to create like an icing top, but to be completely honest, the icing top is just so nice. It creates height on your soap, and it's just a really, really nice finished product. So as you guys can see, I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm right up on the edge there. So there's, like, I had 3/4 of the just plain color or whatever base color that you want, and then the amount that I had added in, it created the perfect amount for in the actual soap itself. So that's done. Now I'm going to push that over. No, I'm actually going to do the mica line right now. A mica line is something that you can do throughout your soap. If you're not doing a drop swirl and you're just doing a couple different layers, or you want to separate layers, you can create a mica line. So this is basically a really, really thin powder of mica, and you're going to see that line. You can't really see it in this soap here, maybe a little bit, but it's just that, here we go, that little line that's right there, that's a mica line, okay? There. That little line. So it just I like it because it separates everything, right? You don't have to do it. You could do it on the bottom. You could do it right in the middle. You could have easily done a layer of white and then done a mica line and then added some more white on top and then drop swirl to a lower height so that it didn't break through and then done that. Like I said, it's creative to the max when you're doing soap. So I am going to make the mica line and I am going to take my gloves off because it's hard to do. So I just use a little T kind of tapper there. So I'm going to put the mica in here and then I'm just going to tap it on top. Okay. This, again, you could use whatever color. The only thing is that you don't want it to be thick. If it's too thick, then your soap is going to possibly come apart, which means the top will come apart from the bottom. And you don't want that, okay? So I'm just going to tap. I know you guys can't really see this, but you'll see as I move along. Okay. It does use enough mica, but it's such a pretty little added detail. And especially because this is the 24 karat gold. My last lemon lavender soap that I made, I had made little soap gumballs and I had coated them in that gold mica, and so you could see it a little bit throughout because I had placed the balls, like I dropped them into the soap. So it was super, super cool, and I don't have that kind of gold detail in this, so I figured that I would do that mica line in the gold. So I'm just kind of going over. You want to make sure that all of your edges are good because that's where you're going to see it. You don't want, you know, an even, really nice coating. Okay? Can you guys see that? I'll bring it up a little bit higher. Ooh, okay? So mica line in gold. You could put a little bit more, but I wouldn't put too much more. But because it's gold, it should be good. Okay, so that's done. Let that sit. So before you put that line, if you wanted to put a hanger in there, if you wanted to just use like a spoon and turn it over, you could do that then. If you wanted to texture the top so that then when you put the icing, it's textured, you could do that. But I'm not touching it because I just wanted it to be a drop swirl, okay? So I'm just leaving it. I'm always tempted to want to stick something in there and mix it up, but it honestly makes such a cool soap when you drop swirl. I absolutely love it. So next step is the icing. So you've saved some of that white icing. Now you can color this if you want. You can, you know, you can do whatever you want. I'm just going to leave it like this because I'm going to add some stuff on top anyways. So actually, I'm going to do a little bit similar to the other one. So this has to thicken, okay? Now, I am going to stick blend this, but I want to talk about a couple things before I do that. So I'm just going to let it chill. One thing that I'm going to do, like the other soap that I did, that blueberry one, I just need little containers, guys. 1 second. If you want to do a little bit of fun detailing on top, let's pick one. Here we go. So this soap here has like color that's like dripped on top. If you don't want to color all of this, but you still want to add color on top, you can do rubbing alcohol and your mica. So I'm going to spritz some rubbing alcohol, which is over here. Okay, in my container. You don't need a lot. Okay, so there's a little bit of that rubbing alcohol in there. And I'm just going to do 2 colors. We'll see. I might change my mind, but I'm very, I hate wearing gloves when I'm dealing with the colorants, and I know I should, but I just can't. I don't feel like I have a good hold on it. So I'm just pouring a little bit of the mica in the rubbing alcohol. So I'm going to do that and some green, I think. No, I'm going to do gold. No, I'm going to do green. Okay. So, as you can see, some things can change, but, you know, do have somewhat of an idea before starting, because that's when you can waste a lot of time running around and, you know, I wasn't going to do any of this. I was just going to do some sprinkles and stuff, but I really, really like how it is. And it's super easy to mix. You just shake it. You don't have to, okay? And then you're going to need little pipettes. There we go. And I use 2 separate pipettes because you don't want to mix the colors together. And we're going to drop that on top of the soap once we're done. So that's done and ready to go. Okay, so what else did I want to talk to you guys about? Oh, tips. Different tips that you can use. It's really, really up to you. Like the blueberry one, I use just like that rounded tip. They're all Wilton's. It's the 2A. Okay, and that's how I got like that bubbly kind of look. But for this one, I'm going to use this one here. It's the 2D. Okay, I like that tip. And I recently just purchased the reusable bags. I will never ever go back to a carrot bag unless I absolutely have to. But these bags are like, a lot of people don't like them, I've heard, because you can't wash them very good because they say it feels oily inside. But honestly, like once they're dry, they don't, and you can reuse them. They're so much better to pipe. They're not going to pop. They're not going to break on you. Just headache be gone right here, okay? So what I do when I'm going to pipe anything, I get myself a pitcher or whatever. When I used to use a care bag, I didn't have this. I can't remember what it's called. Anyways, I didn't have this piece, so it wasn't as big. So when I twist it so that the soap doesn't leak through, I was fine to use it in just like a little container like that, but now I need a bigger container, so I've allocated this one in. So like I said, I twist my end so that the soap can't, when I pour the soap batter in here, it's not going to leak out through my tip on the other edge. So I twist it, I sit it at the bottom, and then I just open this up, and I've realized that I have to hook this or my bag plops over because it's just a little bit too big. Anyways, it stays once there's actual soap in there. So I'm just going to plop my batter in there once I'm ready to go. So that's that. But like I said, you could use whatever tips that you want. And just, you know, have fun with that. Because it's soap. You can do whatever colors you want. You don't have to follow anybody else. And that's the thing, is a lot of people, Canadian much, right? I hear a lot of people now saying that, you know, oh, so-and-so is copying me, or I feel like a lot of people are copying me, and this and that. And to be completely honest, like, of course I'm going to go and watch some videos and be inspired, you know, either by color combos or by technique, but it's so easy to copy and just change one thing. Just change something. Either the technique that they use, or change the color, or change the tip that you're going to pipe it with, or just change something. And it doesn't have to be big, and then it's more your own, and then somebody's not going to go and say you copied me, right? It's so easy to just change one little thing. Like for this soap, somebody could copy this entire thing, but just make that topping a light blue, or don't do the mica on top. Do other different colored pearls, or stick little blue gumballs on top. If I would have had more time, that's probably what I would have done. Stick some gumballs on top, or, you know. So it's really up to you. You make it your own, and then you're not going to be blamed or accused of copying anybody. And it's as simple as that. Okay, guys? So let's see how this is going. So it's not quite thick enough. So instead of just blabbering, and I'm going to mix this up a little bit. So one other thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about, which I thought was super, super cool, and I hope that you guys start to do this if you are more than one soapy, awesome person in your town and you know of the other people. Of course, we're all in those types of situations. I have, and this is me, I have approached, I think we're six, and I know that there's more, I just haven't approached them yet, or didn't contact them to come for this time. But anyways, I have approached other Bath and Body products around my area, and I have asked them to come for dinner. So tonight we are getting together at a local restaurant, and I didn't want it to be like a chain. So we're going to a local, locally owned restaurant, and we're getting together and having dinner and talking about what we all love to do, right? Instead of being against each other, instead of feeling like we're competition or to be intimidated, we are getting together and we're having dinner. And I think that this is going to be so awesome. I am so excited. And I can't wait to hear what we all have to say. You know, we all have our concerns for the craft shows, you know, the craft show drama, and we all have, you know, our issues like that. We all have our favorite products and the products that we hate to make, but everybody loves, and I can't wait to talk to everybody about just what we all love to do, and I hope that we can do this, you know, a couple times a year, but I definitely think that you guys should approach your soapy colleagues, is what I've been calling them, my soap colleagues, and I hope that you guys can kind of, you know, put your differences aside and be able to get together and chit chat. And you know what? It's going to make the craft shows that you all attend so much more enjoyable. Every show that I go to has, you know, one or two other people that make soap and bath bombs and all that kind of stuff, and we talk. It's like they're my good friends, and it should be like that and not be, you know, scowling at them and giving them dirty looks, or them giving you dirty looks and feeling like you're, you know, you're intimidating them or making them feel uncomfortable. And I think that, you know, people just need to put that aside and realize that there's room for everybody, and we can all get along, and we can all work the same products, just, you know, you do your thing, I do my thing, and we all get along. And so that's what I'm doing tonight, and I'm super, super excited. So I wanted to mention that, and I hope that you guys do it. And if you do, let me know. Link me. I want to hear about your experiences. I would love to have other people do something that's very similar to this. So I can't read comments, and I see there's a big one, but I can't read it right now. So I'm just thickening this up. This is something that can take a long time. If I can force it to trace a little bit more quickly, it'll thicken up. I wouldn't necessarily put it in the fridge, because you can easily get a chunk somewhere in there that's going to get harder, and it's just going to block your whole system, your whole piping bag. So I just like to have it do its own natural thing. How long have we been on for? Does it say anywhere? Can anybody tell me how long I've been here for? Does it say the time? No. Topping is the base color she put. Oh, I guess you're just answering someone else's question. So this is the base. This is the when I originally had my oils and I added my lye, this is the same thing. I did not make a separate recipe. I know that like Katie has a separate recipe. I'm gonna say that it's something that will thicken more quickly, maybe with butters, but to me, I mean, fine, you're wasting a little bit more time waiting, but it's just quicker for me anyways. And then you don't have to list more ingredients, right? So that's all that is. And I hope it doesn't take too long, guys, because I do want to be able to actually do this live. So I'm going to try and kind of just waste some time. Not waste time, but talk to you guys a little bit. Because I normally can't do that. So we're going to push that aside a little bit. I'm actually going to go and get you guys... do you guys want to see the natural bath bombs again? I can show you guys. I've been on for 38 minutes. Jesus Lord. Let's hope that this doesn't take too long. Let's show these bath bombs. So the last show that I did, I showed you guys these natural bath bombs that I've made, and I have 3 left. I did 2 shows, I have 3 left. I have no bath bombs left. I had to make some more, and my ingredients that I was waiting for just came in today, so I'm going to be able to make the other ones. So this was the oatmeal milk and honey, so it has the ground oats inside, it has real honey, and the milk, the dry milk, or the powdered milk I guess I should say. So these were made yesterday. This one, I changed it a little bit. I didn't add the lemongrass in it, just because I had 2 thick products that had lemongrass, and now I realized that then I didn't make the same one. This one was supposed to be lemongrass, and I changed it to like a citrusy orange grapefruit kind of thing. So now I still have to make a lemongrass one because it's still popular. But this one just has the geranium and the lavender in it with the rose petals and the lavender buds, which is one that's sold right away. And then, like I said, this one has the orange and the pomegranate scent in there, and it's got calendula petals and a little bit, I forgot, I was gonna skip that. I did add some dried orange peel granules in there just for added, you know, fancy schmancy stuff. So I'm just gonna put these over. Oh, okay, there's one more thing that I want to talk to you guys, and it's actually soap related. So when you guys are cleaning your soap, first, actually, I should talk about how I cut mine. So you can get a big fancy soap cutter, and I will eventually once I suck it up and pay. But this is just a little cheese slicer. And so that's what I use. I don't like using a knife because I find that it still turns my soap, and then my bars get crooked. This still, at times, the bars aren't like 100%, but they're a lot better than the other ones. I marked myself a little line here. So I just move my soap along, and then I just slice it like that. So this was, I think, about $15 at my kitchen store kind of thing. And then not everybody does this. I like to do it just because I find that it makes the soap a little bit more fancier. But I like to bevel and shave my soap. So this is a beveler, and it has a little blade right here, and then it has 2 little notches, and it's just like a little block kind of thing. And so what I do to my soaps, because I'm always impatient and I always want to see what's inside, that blueberry soap was made last night at 10 o'clock, and I cut it at 8:30 this morning. So I was not patient. But anyways, sometimes when you cut it too soon, it kind of, the soap is still sticky, right? So it kind of just like leaves like a rough surface. So what I like to do, and actually I'm going to use the one that I didn't do yet. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see the difference, but if you guys can kind of see, like, it's rough type thing, and then the edges aren't cleaned up, and you know, so I like to clean up my soaps. So this is the way that I do it. Some people use actual potato peelers or carrot peelers, but I got this off of Etsy for, I don't even think it was 10 bucks. It was super, super cheap. So I first like to clean off the surface of the soap, because like I said, it's a little bit rough. So I just put the soap flat and I push it through. You don't have to do this, okay guys, but I just find that it makes the soap, it makes it smooth, and it just cleans it up. It's time consuming, no doubt about it. So if you're making, you know, tons of soap a day, you may not want to waste your time. But I make basically 1 or 2 batches a day for a few weeks, and then I'm good until I need more soap, right? So I just slide along and just feel, and when I feel like it's pretty smooth, then I move along. And so it just literally makes little shavings, and you could keep this to put into other soaps, like the confetti soap, or toss it, doesn't matter, do whatever you want with it. Sometimes I keep it and sometimes I don't. And then on the edges, you've got that little crevice that's there. I just put the corner of it right inside, and it will, I know that for you guys it's not a good angle, but when you do that, it gives it like a little, it cleans the edge off. Now again, if you don't like that, don't do it. If you just want to clean off the front of your soaps, then just do that. Do whatever you want, but I really like doing this. I find that it makes the soap look more cleaned and professional. Some soaps I do it, and some soaps I don't. These ones that I do like all the fancy stuff on them, I do. But then I've made like more natural type soaps, and I don't do it on those ones. So you can just pick and choose, but it cleans off the edges like that, and it just gives it a nice smooth finish. Any little, you know, if your cutter kind of made like little circles, this one it didn't, but sometimes they make like a little circle on the edge right here, that like cleans it off. So that's your choice if you want to do that. I like to do it, like I said, but you don't have to. So that's another little tip for the new soapers. Now let's see, I think I've talked enough, eh? It's still not thick enough though, guys. Let's try and stick blend this a little bit more. I don't like to make super long videos, and I knew that the soap video was going to be long, and that's why I waited a little bit to do it, but I know a lot of you guys that like to watch soap be made. And yeah, you guys can go on YouTube, and yes, this will be uploaded to YouTube, but it's always nice to watch it live, because then you know exactly what I'm doing, right? You see how long it's taken for the soap to thicken up. You've seen, you know, how long it took me to mix everything, which doesn't take long. You didn't see me prep everything, but I mean, there's only so much that you have a whole day video. I don't think you guys want to follow me all day, right? So this is the time where I do clean out my blender, because there's a lot of good soap in there. It's still very liquidy. Well, not very, but it's still. So I'm just going to answer a couple questions for you guys. Let's go up and see what people are saying. Oh, there's a lot of comments. Holy guacamole, guys. Okay, let's start from the top. Want to know who's watching you? Oh, that's for me. What size mold is that? I'm not sure what size the mold is. All I know is that it fits 40 ounces. And it's the mold that you can get at Michael's, or I'm going to assume that Hobby Lobby has it, because they're very similar stores. But yeah, it holds 40 ounces. That's all I can tell you. I'm sure on the package it would have told me, but I never saved that. Interested. I have palm oil that have never been. So yeah, and like try it out and do your own research. Like for me, I bought it sustained, and I researched sustained, and I felt comfortable using it. Now it's written on all my labels, obviously, that it's sustainable palm oil, and if anybody ever has issues, then you know, I just tell them, then don't buy my soap. I know eventually I do want to start making some that don't have the palm oil, just for people who are against it, but honestly, not that many people know about it, for me anyways. Like in my area, not a lot of people know not to buy things with palm oil in it. I've worked at salons that have shampoos and conditioner that have palm oil in it, and I'm like, oh my god, like, you know, it doesn't say sustainable, and I'm pretty sure that they don't buy it sustainable, obviously. And so I refrain myself from buying that. But does every, you know, regular Joe Flo know that, you know, palm oil isn't good and stuff? It's not good. It's just how they cultivate it that it isn't good, right? So if people don't really care, then they buy the soap, and if people care about it, then they'll ask you questions, and you can just let them know from there. I'd also be interested in the one with almond oil. Okay, so I'll let you guys know afterwards. I'll link the recipes that I have. Hi, Carol, or no, it's Coral, eh? Hi, Coral. Who's this? Where am I? I don't know. Hello. Hi. Just good. Okay, so yeah, I'm just, I'm from Canada. I'm from Sudbury, Ontario, and I enjoy making soap and all kinds of bath products, and I post a lot on here, If anybody wants to follow me on YouTube, you definitely can. And I can post all of my info down below because I have other videos. They're just easier to find, I find, on YouTube than in some of these groups because they get lost through everything else. But I like to go live because a lot of people like to watch. So that's the only reason why I do it here. What else? Hi everybody, you guys are awesome. I love seeing how many people are here. So we're just waiting on the soap to thicken up. A couple minutes, I think we should be good. I already answered the fragrance. Watching. Okay. I'm just trying to read quickly. What did you mix your colors with? Like I said, with the mica and the rubbing alcohol. Or, sorry, no, that's for the topping. But I mixed the colors for the actual soap with a little bit of the oils before I mixed in the lye. So I just want to repeat that. What else is there? What else? So, anybody who wants to rewatch it after, it always gets posted. I know Joelle was kind of upset because she had to go into a meeting and she likes to watch me live. But the video is always posted after, so if there's any information that you guys missed now, you can watch it after. How do you add the honey in the bath bombs? I add my dry ingredients, my baking soda, my citric acid, my cornstarch, cream tartar, all of that kind of stuff. I add my ground oats in there. I mix everything up, and then I literally take a spoon full of the honey and I drizzle it on top. I don't like to plop it in because then it creates like a ball, but I like to drizzle it inside, and then I literally just work it in. And if there are any little chunks, it's not going to be big because you drizzled it in versus just plop it in there in a big chunk. But I just work it, and then when I feel like it's, you know, evenly incorporated, then I add my wet ingredients and all that. And I've never had issues. I've tested a few out. I've made like the little mini ones. I've tested a few out and I've never had like a chunk of honey kind of floating everywhere. Someone did mention to melt it, and I didn't do that this time. I completely forgot, but you could always try and do that too. Melt it and add it to your butters and then mix all of that together. That could probably work just as well. Love the cheese counter. How? Well, order it from Etsy. There's tons of like Chinese online Etsy stores that have like tons of molds and the cutter thing and all that, the beveler and all those kinds of things for like super cheap. And I mean, it takes, you know, sometimes 2 months for it to come in, but it's all awesome stuff. What are your favorite oils or butters to use? So I don't tend to use butters in my soaps because they harden it too fast for my liking. I like to have time to do the fun stuff. I have made soaps with butters, but yeah, they're not, I don't like them as much. I find too, once you're ready to cut, if I don't have time to cut soon enough, sometimes they've gone super hard and then I can't cut through and they just end up, you know, breaking and stuff. Those are extreme cases, obviously. But yeah, I tend to stick with the coconut oil. Like I said, I do palm oil in there, which is a really good oil or butter, if you want to call it, that hardens your bar. And then an olive oil is considered to be a hard butter in soaps. Obviously it isn't, it's an oil, but they put that in kind of the same category. And then the other oils that I have in here are Rice Bran. Rice Bran's a super awesome oil. It's cheap, but it has awesome properties, so you can go and look online to see, you know, the properties that you feel are good in the Rice Bran oil. And then I use castor oil. Castor oil is going to help with bubbles, so I always add a little bit of that. And the recipe is basically, which I'm going to be giving you guys, and I always say I won't, and I'll just write it down below, but it's basically 30, well, for, yeah, it is. Okay, so it's 30, 30, 30. So 30 olive oil, 30 coconut oil, 30 palm oil, and then 5 rice bran and 5 castor oil. Now the rice bran is an oil that you could change up a little bit if you wanted to use safflower oil or sunflower oil, or you know, whatever kind of oil. You could change that one up, but I would definitely try and keep the other ones as they are. And again, just go through your soap calculator and make sure that all of your stuff is good, and then go from there. The other recipe, like I said, it's all softer oils. It doesn't have the palm oil in it. I'm not sure exactly what is in there because I don't use it very much, so I don't know it off the top of my head. But like I said, it doesn't have the palm oil in it for those who don't want to use the palm oil. So this is looking pretty good, I think. Might kick myself in the butt like that other video, but I don't want it to be too long for you guys where, you know, you're gonna start leaving. So this is the part that might be kind of messy. I normally get my husband to help me. I normally make soap at night, because if my son wakes up while I'm doing soap, it's one thing that just isn't good. But I started right when he went down, so, and he was pretty tired this morning. So let's hope that this bag doesn't go flying everywhere. So I'm just placing the rest of my, no, yeah, see? Okay. It's a two-man job. I'm just going to go get a spoon. 1 second. Okay. So I could use a smaller container where the thing goes over it, but like I said, it's not, they're never deep enough, so that's why I use this. So I'm just going to pop this in here. And again, like the buttery icing recipe that I've used, I like to pour this in a little bit sooner because it's going from a pot that it's been brewing in for a while to a bag that is unknown territory, right? So things can happen. It could go and decide to accelerate on you. It could cool down enough where it's going to be too hard to pipe by the time you get it all in. So I like to just get it in like a little bit before, you know, it's ready to go and pipe. But this is pretty good. It might be, just to say, a little bit too runny, but again, I don't want the video to be too long either. It's already long enough. Okay, so let's bring this over. Now I'm hoping that you guys can see. I know this angle is probably not the greatest for piping stuff, so I'm just literally grabbing the bag out, and you don't want the bottom to completely twist out because it's going to pour out. So this is what you're kind of left with, and I'm just untwisting and pushing down and then trying to twist the end. So you can play around with it, just because I don't want it to be, I know it's a little bit more liquidy than I want it to be, so it could easily pour out. So then I'm just doing like little dollops. I'm trying to have a good angle for you guys to see. And the dollops, you decide how big you want. If you want them really big and you just want to do 3 across, or you want them a little bit smaller, it's completely up to you guys. I like the 4 across. I find it's, you know, it's a good little size. So I'm just going through it and putting down the first layer. Now, because I'm not measuring, and I should, sometimes I run out, and honestly, well, like, it's not a big deal, it's handmade. I obviously try not to, but, you know, it is what it is, right? So now I'm just going to go in between those little holes and put 3. It depends on how much pressure you put. Like, if you're putting some dollops a little bit thicker than the other, you know, that's when you could easily be running out of dough, not dough, batter, soap, whatever. we're going to 2. So we're just building basically a pyramid. Obviously, the thicker the batter, the higher you can get it, because now it's still, just to say, a little bit soft. So it kind of settles into itself a bit. And so the peaks obviously won't be as high. But that's okay. It's fine. I just like, obviously, some peak. Okay. So now, oops, I'm just going again to try and get it just a little bit higher. And this is when you're going to want to try and not be too rough with it, because you don't want to push down on it, right? You're just trying to kind of, so then I'm just going to build up onto the sides because I still have batter left over. And again, like I said, there's times where I don't have any and I'm trying to scrounge every last little bit to get out and make at least the top, right? Like you want to at least try and make as much as you can. And to try and make it as even as possible is sometimes quite the... Okay, so my last one, I'm just gonna... Sorry if I'm blocking you guys there. Soon. I've been looking for my vlogging camera. I know which one I want. Just saving up a little bit of money. It's not easy to, you know, decide to spend money on yourself. Well, it's not technically for myself, but for the business anyways. So that's that. Now I'm going to do the little mica drizzle. Now because one color is light and the other one is dark, you don't want them to mix too much, whereas the blue and the purple, I mean, it's a similar kind of color, so it's okay if it was to mix up a little bit. So for the green, I think I'm just going to kind of drip lower, like on the sides, and then the purple I'll try and do a little bit more on top, just so that they don't mix too much. And this is, again, just very free. Do whatever you want, you know. If you don't want to do this, don't do it, right? Like, the only thing I would say is not to add too much, I guess, is my only advice, I guess. So I'm just going to try and keep that on top. And there we go. So that's done. Now I am going to take off